welcome to Monday Mug Mentions, week number 34. It is so good to see everyone this morning as you all pop in. I see a few different folks popping in. It's great to see you all this afternoon, morning, wherever you are, whatever time it may be. Tim, Gerald, Yuri, Hunter, Mom, Bill, so good to see you all. I'm really, really glad y'all are joining me this morning for a cup of coffee. I hope your Monday is going well and it's starting out wonderfully. I have been informed by Mom that there's some coffee coming from Texas for me from a gift shop in Texas, which I'm super excited about. There she says. Mom says, "Hi, Marshall. I will have to wait until Wednesday to get your coffee in the mail." No problem, Mom. Whenever you'd like. Thank you very much. Hello, Stephen Bailey, a.k.a. Razlo, the designer of Billionaire Banshee and Re-Extinction, joins us today. Thank you very much for being here, Stephen. It's kind of cool to have a celebrity like yourself in the chat. Thank you for being here. Chad Elkins, the publisher behind currently, I believe, live on Kickstarter Space Explorers, joins us today. Thank you, Chad, for joining. Ben Moy, thank you for joining us as well. Good to see you. So I'm sorry you had to get stuck with gas station coffee today. Yuri said he's drinking gas station coffee. I guess we should talk about what coffee I'm drinking today, and that is Dunkin' Donuts Dark Roast. I just realized I drink quite a bit of Dunkin' on my regular, travels. If I'm in the car and I'm traveling for hours on a highway, usually there's Dunkin's up here, so I drink a lot of it, and I've never had it on stream. I just looked over all the different coffees we've had in the past 34 weeks, and I don't think I've ever had Dunkin', it said. So hello, Jennifer, good to see you. So good to see you. Ian Moss, good to see you. We're talking about that picture on your profile there, Ian, today, later in the stream. Yeah, congratulations, Chad. Space Explorers looks awesome. I would go broke if I backed everything I want to back right now. I promise you that. Zach, good to see you. So good to see you this morning. All right, so the Dunkin' Dark Roast is pretty good. Out of all of them, I actually just like their house blend the best. The Dark Roast was actually on sale, so I picked up a bag of it. Why not? And it's tasty. I don't mind it. It's a little bolder than their normal one. Martin Poole, good to see you. You're late. Yuri beat you to the first comment. So thank you for joining, though. Melissa, so good to see you. Thank you for joining as well. It is a nice, busy day today. Good Monday to you all. So let's get into it. Let's get into the games we're talking about this week. I'm talking about games that are, I think it's elegantly frustrating is the way I put it. These are some of my favorite games that are super frustrating. I don't think I had any mail this week. I didn't have any major mail this week, so we don't have anything to show off before we get into it. John, thank you for joining. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is the first one we're going to talk about today, and it's number 9. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here, and I'll get you guys some some images as well. Let's get our screen going. So the point of number 9 is to build a sort of little tower of numbers. I'm actually going to open my copy so you can see how simple this is. I just played a game before I started the stream just to remind myself of how fun and simple a solo game this is, and I scored a 53. So I'm not sure how good a 53 is, but I'm glad that it's there. Martin, no problem. I actually had a little trouble going live, too, today. It took like 2 tries, so I don't know. I think it's Facebook is being wonky today, but thank you guys for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Daniel says the same thing. Better luck with your internet today. I don't know, Facebook. So the API that I have that works with Facebook with OBS was having trouble connecting. I had to go and re-update some things and stuff like that. So certainly there may be something wonky going on. So there's just this box of numbers, and you'll see you just got a whole bunch of them, and a big group can play as many copies of number 9 as you have. You can have multiple groups playing this. I scored a 53 today. Yuri says I scored a 54. I don't know if he's just digging at me or not, but I really, really do. I appreciate that. Yeah, the hoodie's back too. It's hoodie weather again. You're right. It's and Kira says OBS has been wonky for a week, so it may be this new update and plugin they've got for OBS. And hi, Kira, good to see you. Hello, Harrison, good to see you as well. So, yeah, it's, always funky things, but we'll roll with it. We roll with punches when they come. That's what we're all about. So, yeah, it's super simple. You pull out a card, and then you place that number. So this is the 4, and then you place that number, and then you're trying to get built up, but you can't place a number on top of the other stack unless it's fully closed in. So, it's one of the most amazing little solo games / group solo experiences you can play. It's really clever. I like the way number 9 plays, but it's frustrating because sometimes you get a piece that absolutely just stinks for the point in the game. That's so Uh, so Jennifer says, freaking OBS, those letters are the devil to me right now. Oh, good, it's not just me. Yeah, so, and if anybody's ever having trouble with their OBS settings or any of that stuff, feel free to send me a message. I'm super open about talking about how I set up my video stuff. Before I was in the tabletop industry, I worked with a group of video game journalists, and they did a ton of streaming, and I helped set up the back end of that stuff too. So I've been lucky to be able to know some of the stuff about it. But honestly, there's people that do this much better than I do. I ask them those questions pretty regularly. All right, getting back into number 9, I think if you haven't played this game, so what happens is at level 0, you get no points for those numbers you lay down, so that very bottom level that you lay down. The second level up, you're going to get ×1. So if you lay a 7 on the actual, the second level, you're going to get 7 points. However, if you get to the next level, it's going to be multiplied ×2. So if you get a 7 on your third level, you're going to get a 14, which I was actually able to pull off for the first time ever in the game I played this afternoon. It's a lot of fun. It's really satisfying to place bigger numbers at the top. It's also really frustrating when your first 3 numbers that come out are like 9, 9, and 7, because there's no way you can stack those on each other. You're not allowed to stack on the same number. It's got to actually touch 2 numbers. So you've got to be very clever about how you put things together. So it's all based on how your numbers come out, and I really enjoy that. It's an elegant game because it's so simple to learn, but it's frustrating because you're at the behest of how these cards come out, and you just sort of have to put things down in a certain order. I love it. It's number 9 is one of the better games that has come out in the past few years that's just really simple and elegant, and I really enjoy playing it. Yeah, Daniel says the sweater is branded. That's right. We've got Yanaguana hoodies, at least a couple of them that Andrew and I wear, and they are comfy. I will say that. It is hoodie weather again in New England. It's in the mid-40s, so I'm happy to have my hoodie. I also like the cold weather, though, so I'm actually happy to have a chance to wear the hoodie again, right? All right, so when I was thinking about number 9 and what game on the PC could even relate to this, because there really isn't anything. I guess there's some Tetris and Tetramino type games that might do it, but that really isn't the feeling I got, because those don't tend to frustrate you in the same way that number 9 does, in my opinion. So what I decided was to talk about one of my favorite games that I can't believe was never on the stream at this point, and that's a game from quite possibly one of the best ever game studio names ever, and that is Dinosaur Polo Club. And they made a game called Mini Metro in 2015 that I've been playing since 2015. It's fantastic. I still hop on and play for high score every once in a while because it's probably one of the best PC games ever made in terms of just managing your routes and times and things like that. It's going to be a lot better if I just get you some footage. So let's put some up. This is a play from this afternoon, and we may not get all the way through it. It actually runs pretty long here. I got about 1,800 passengers on my London tube. So what you're doing here is you're in a location and you're connecting different shapes with passengers of said shape, and they're trying to get from location to location. So you'll see here, I'm going to actually speed it up so it goes a little faster in the game, but you're trying to get, if someone wants to get to a triangle stop, you need to stop and pick them up and take them to a triangle stop. From a circle to a triangle, from a square to a triangle. More shapes incorporate as time goes on, more stops, and you're limited to a starting group of 3 lines. So you see I have 2 colors of line there. I can make 1 more line, and I only have a certain amount of locomotives. You're picking up and dropping off all of your passengers. That's all you're doing in this, but constantly the routes are growing, so you have to move them over and make sure that you're picking up new people. It is probably a bit loud. I just realized that. Let me bring that down some. Thank you very much for letting me know. I usually take all of the sound off of any of these videos. I'm going to leave a little bit up because it does have some of that. Thank you, Ian. I really appreciate you. You're so good at this. Ian's a professional at streaming. He knows how to call it out in the middle of the stream and save the stream. So, when you pick up a passenger, you take them to the next available place that is what they desire to go to and drop them off. It gets more and more difficult as each week goes on. There are more and more people lining up at the stops. Your population is growing is essentially what you're thinking of. And then you're given a choice usually between something like another locomotive and a new line, or more bridges or tunnels, I think, is in this situation. And the tunnels in this situation get you underneath that water. And you'll notice that I go underneath the water twice here just to get to one spot. In certain locations, you might have to go underneath the water 3 or 4 times to get to a spot. And if you don't have the tunnels, you just cannot get to that particular location. So you will fail, because if you don't pick people up in time, the game ends. It's an incredibly frustrating and fun game. It requires, you can actually pause the game, but I generally don't do that. I generally like to play in real time. There are some challenges, like the daily challenges, that don't allow you to pause the game. But you're trying to manage your routes, keep up with a certain amount of timing, make sure that you have a variation of the different stops. If you don't have a variation of the different stops, then you're going to have some issues with just tracks running and having full cars. Hey, Patrick, good to see you. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for joining as well. So essentially, it's a game where you're just constantly have cascading failures in your system that you have to keep up with or beef up. At this point, it gave me the choice, I think, between a line and a carriage. And what a carriage does is it doubles the capacity of one of your buses or one of your trains. And so from that point on, you can essentially carry double the amount of people on the same line. The problem being that if you didn't take another line and you need to split up your different stops soon, then you don't have another line to do that with. So it becomes this really, really fun route management and time management and then sort of population management simulator that's really fun, packaged in a real-time, sort of quick, frustrating, fun, neat little game. I don't even know how to explain the amount of frustration when you get right to that point where you know you're going to fail, but you're just trying to keep up a little bit more to get your score higher than what you've done previously. I think my highest on this one, we just lost a light bulb back there, so we'll just be in the dark for today. So your score is essentially completely tied to the full experience of all of these customers who you're picking up, right? So if you've picked up 1,800 of them, then that's your score. I think my best score ever was like 2,100 on this one. I get to roughly 1,800 in this particular game as well. Bit dark. Yeah, thanks, Ian. There's some sort of bad luck with that, right? If a light goes out in the middle of a stream, I think. At the same time, we do have a funny little thing going on with the roof over there, so it might be related to that as well. Anyway, yeah, poof, the light went out. Oh, and it came back on. Yeah, so this may be the funny thing going on with the roof. I don't know. I don't know. It's magic. That's what that is. If it goes back off, we'll just keep. This will be a disco party. So I think the game runs about 15 minutes here, and I don't want to make you all sit through it. But if you haven't seen Mini Metro or you haven't played it, I think it's available not only on PC but now on Android and iOS devices where you can play it there. Honestly, the best way is a PC, so you have a nice big screen to move things around. The killer's right behind me. Yeah, it's a copy of Welcome to or Bloodborne. It's Bloodborne. That's Eric Lang is here to kill me. That makes sense. This is essentially exactly what the comments usually devolve into. But most of the time, we're talking about the murderer behind me right now, the roof ghosts, the killer behind me, and so on. And then Patrick says this is the summit of journalism. I agree wholeheartedly. This is what we do. This is if you're here to see a murder, this is your best chance today. It looks like we've got somebody behind me turning the lights out to the house. They're coming to get us. I don't have a ton more on Mini Metro. I wish I had an option to speed up the footage and move it further along so you could see what it looks like when you get to the end. But all the stops just start blinking, and you've got a ton of people at them. At some point, people have been waiting too long, and so you fail. But I digress. We will move on because I want to talk about the media that I'm interested in this week so we can get rid of this footage and of this screen and of this overlay, and we will go into Daily Worker Placement, which is an awesome blog. If you guys haven't seen it, this is some real industry folks who are usually plugged in, a lot of them behind the scenes, that do a blog about board games, the way that certain games make them feel, the way that they feel about certain games, generally fully published games too. So it's not going to be a lot of the noise that you may sometimes see with massive amount of Kickstarters and stuff like that. Daily Worker Placement mostly focuses on fully published, fully realized, finished games. And it's a great asset. I think the most recent article I read was one about that's really relevant to the stream is from Matt Morgan, who, if those of you don't know, Matt Morgan runs like the behind the scenes for a couple of the tabletop show portions of PAX. So Matt is an awesome, awesome organizer, but he also is one of the contributors to Daily Worker Placement. And he recently did a really, really cool blog about how to set up your live stream to show off board games. And it's really, I mean, it's invaluable. You can't get this sort of stuff elsewhere because nobody's talking about this sort of thing. And it's how to sort of set up your live stream. It's got a piece by piece setup for OBS, which is the recording software I use to stream every Monday Mug Mentions. It's got the back end of OBS and how to set that up and put on overlays, including something digital to show off your sort of tracking for your game that you're playing, and then a way to set up your camera properly to show off, you know, your dice roll or whatever the game does. It's an incredible asset, and it's just one article of hundreds. So I think if you were someone who is often playing a considerable amount of games and you want to stream them, that is something you need to look at, you know, just as a basic, that article. I'll do my best to link that in the comments after we finish. And then the rest of the content is amazing. It talks about games. It talks about industry goings on. It talks about, you know, certain things that you may not have considered about why you enjoy certain types of like board games. And I think that that's a really incredible asset. If you haven't checked out Daily Worker Placement, it's a great blog. It's got a ton of really high quality information, like really well thought out articles, things that are not, you know, the same stuff. So thank you, Ian. I appreciate it. Ian linked right there the Daily Worker Placement, how to stream your games blog from Matt Morgan. So thank you also to Matt Morgan for doing that, because I think as publishers, seeing people stream your game, that's great. It's really a nice thing to see people showing off your game and just saying we enjoy it and talking about the game and showing off the things that they enjoy. So it's a great thing that Matt did, essentially, to just boost signal for everyone. So let's move on, because we're doing all right. We're only like 20 minutes in today. We are trucking along. That's fine. I've got a busy afternoon though. So I want to talk about a marketing initiative that I think is pretty clever, and that's Druid City Games and what they're doing with the Wonderlands War teasers. Now, I actually got to see one of these earlier than most people because I was actually hanging out with some folks from the team and might have peeked at their computer screen and saw some amazing art from Manny Trimbley. But this doesn't even get a screen because this image is too big for a screen. It needs to be here. Let's see here. It is the Wonderlands War teaser that James Hudson recently posted. And if you look at this artwork, and then if you look at what the artwork says, you need to pay close attention, Kickstarter creators. This artwork is incredible. It's Manny Trimbley who did Dice Throne and all of the art behind Dice Throne, and also I think the Dice Throne comic book that he was doing as well. He's just an amazing artist. Manny is beyond talented. He is an unbelievable artist. So look at this art, first of all. If you're not amazed, then I don't know what to say, because this is really incredible looking art. On top of that, if you look on one side, it says Gilmore, Moss, Eisner Brothers, and Trimbley. So, I mean, we know that some of the greatest minds in board game tabletop are working on this thing. Now, here's the part, aside from all of that, that you should be paying attention to as a Kickstarter creator. It says, coming to Kickstarter 2019. Even if that's January, I mean, which it's not, I'm fairly certain. Even if that's January, we're pre-marketing at a point that is so smart. We have got to get on board with this kind of thing as Kickstarter creators if you want to succeed. You've got to get going early. Now, there is a bit of a tricky bit to this, right? You've got to budget that out the right way. You don't want to spend all of your marketing budget the first 3 weeks of your campaign and then go dark for 2 months and then launch. You need to have a building sort of sliding scale. So, see. So there's a lot of comments about this one. Daniel says, Manny Trimbley is sort of a good artist. I hope he finds some success soon. Yuri's commenting on the playmats for Dice Throne, which I have a few of coming to me, and those are beautiful. Yeah, I agree. Kira says, I'm obsessed with the art in this game, and I want this one as a poster. I would not decline to hang that poster on my wall either. I really, really like this image in particular. Patrick says, my wife has a problem with the book, so this is pretty much a lock. That's Eric, thank you for joining us. Good to see you. So yeah, this is the way you pre-market, teasing out pieces of fully finished, fully realized art, teasing out bits of who's working on it, showing off when it's coming with a nondescript date. Coming to Kickstarter 2019. Now, this is also being done alongside the fact that James is launching Tidal Blades, I believe any day now. It might be tomorrow. I don't know. Any day now, James is launching Tidal Blades, which means Druid City has another launch going. He is pre-marketing the game that is probably after Tidal Blades, or maybe 2 games after Tidal Blades, right now. And if you're a Kickstarter creator, that's something you should definitely think about, is pre-marketing this far in advance and knowing that you have this sort of schedule. We've had so much difficulty because some of you may be like us, where you're under an NDA with something, or something's not finalized, and it makes it really hard to pre-market, right? But if you have the opportunity and you are the controller of the IP, like they are for this one, you absolutely want to start teasing things out and doing little bits of provocative marketing. That's what I would call this. This is making me think, God, I really want to see what this game's about. I want to know more about it right now. Now, in my case, I'm fortunately friends with some folks that are working on it, so I might be able to ask them. But for the most part, that's a great way to make people feel, is like, what is this about? I really, really want to know what's going on. So it's a really, really incredible piece of artwork. As soon as I saw this, I knew that's what I was talking about this week. I immediately said, that is how you show off an upcoming Kickstarter. So, and Manny, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Ian says he's been summoned. And Yuri says, hey, it's Manny. We were just talking about you. Manny, yeah, I guess you're good at arts and stuff like that. Patrick says, conversely, don't go to Kickstarter because you told some people your timeline. Go when you're ready. This is an unbelievably amazing tip from Patrick. That's also, I think I think Jamie's blog said at one point, there was a big, really popular one from Jamie that said, launch when you're ready. And you don't have to launch your Kickstarter tomorrow. And that's a really big part of it. I think that's one of the, Patrick hit it on the nose here, is that you should never just go because you said you're going to be there in September of 2019. If the game's not ready to kickstart in September 2019, don't just launch. It seems like common sense, but so many people feel beholden to their own timeline. And a few recent projects that we've seen not catch funding or get fire or anything like that are because of, potentially, in my mind, some of those same situations. One of those being, one where a lot of people said, hey, you're not really ready right now, and that creator still went live and it didn't quite work out. So it's definitely a super smart thing to think about. So let's... Daniel says Eisner brothers, not to be confused with the Isley brothers, although they both make smooth jams. And so Martin says, we delayed... twice with Robin Hood, best thing we ever did. Yeah, you had a great success with that campaign, and if you delayed it, it probably means you're making it better, right? If you delay your campaign, you're probably improving it. You're probably not making it worse. That tends to be the case. So Manny says hi. Thanks for the kind words. Well, thanks for the good art. I've got a ton of your artwork in my boxes back there with dice thrown and more coming to me, and now I'm going to have to go all in on Wonderland's War. So thank you, Manny. Jimmy says, totally true. Why launch when you don't have things ready? Yeah, it seems like a total common sense thing, but it just isn't. It for whatever reason, it's just something that people constantly launch unfinished projects. You can go through Kickstarter and browse it for just a few minutes, and you see a number of them. It's very often they don't fund. Most of the time they don't fund. Sometimes they do, and that can even be worse because you end up getting a really, really subpar product, and it just doesn't tend to be a good thing if you're not ready to launch and you fund. So Martin says it's good to hear Marshall mention Jamie. Since I interviewed him, I've seen people take more notice of him finally. Yeah, that tiny little Stonemaier outlet over there is finally getting some traction, huh? Daniel says, conversely, you'll never be 100% ready. I'm contrarian, ignore me. No, I understand. You could look at that as a creator who's done a page build from top to bottom. You could stare at that thing and nitpick and go back and forth on so many things indefinitely. I understand that portion too. Launch when you're 98% ready, if that works, Daniel. The other 2% are the details that you can alter after you get the thing up. I mean, you will make changes. Yeah, but Jimmy says something, this is important. No reviews, no rule book. Why? And that's exactly, if you cannot tell people or give them some sort of indication of how the game is played or show them other people playing it, you probably shouldn't launch. Not a great idea. So again, you're seeing an amazing pre-marketing cycle here when you have art of this level coming out this early. Now, again, they've got Manny, who's really, really, really incredible. But at the same time, like finding artists that are incredible is important. That's an important part of the equation. So, uh, let's see here. Yeah, it says so. Patrick says I feel like there's a difference between ready and the project is perfect. Yeah, I don't know if the perfect game exists. This is something I've had is a thought experiment I do fairly regularly is whether or not a perfect game exists, and I just don't know if that's the case. I don't know if there's a game that doesn't have one thing that I think might be slightly better or slightly could be slightly improved or something like that. But that doesn't mean that there's not games that aren't close to tens for me. It's a tough thing when you talk about perfection in gaming. I think there's just games that can be perfect for a certain player. But I think there's no way that anything can ever come out 100% perfect when you're talking about a board game, because even if all the artwork is perfect and the mechanics are incredibly sound, let's say something in the printing goes funny. I mean, like, it's just there's so many elements that could be error. So Daniel says I vote Record. Perfect game and campaign, no improvements necessary. So much so that we did it twice to get it funded. Right? Yeah, that's so we failed on our first launch and relaunched 3 months later and funded in 7 hours. There is an incredible amount of learning from mistakes that goes with that. And I think we were ready the first time, but we were far more prepared the second time than we were the first. So there is no one answer to this. That's something I've said on a bunch of panels we've done about this sort of thing is about relaunching and being successful on the relaunch, is that there's no one answer to what you do. So Manny says Patrick's right. Projects are never perfect. That's that Patrick says, on the other hand, Daniel's ready to go. That's right. Daniel will make it happen. Slinging truths. According to Manny. Courtney says, sorry to join at the end. Kiddos, I'll watch again on YouTube. Thanks, Mama. You get to see my beautiful face all the time. You can take a break anytime you want. I understand. Melissa says, often the imperfections and quirks in a game are what make them memorable. Yeah, to a certain extent, that is correct. If there is just a quirk that's cute that fits in the game, I think I agree with that. But too many of them can bog things down. Ian says that first launch was just marketing. Well, and that's the secret, Ian, is that a relaunch is not a failed campaign. A relaunch is a free marketing where you're bringing probably however many backers you had on your first campaign to the party on day one the next time. So you can't always do relaunches, but when you do them, if you do them well, you don't lose any money on the marketing. You've actually just pre-marketed in a different way. I explain this to anyone I consult with that's trying to do a relaunch that had a failed campaign, is that don't see this as a failure. Learn how to see your previous launch as an asset and take those people that were on board for your product then and ask them what they want to see improve, while also drawing more people into your day one funding group. So we got very lucky to fund on day one the second time, but that wasn't all luck. A lot of it was, explaining that, we needed to hear what we needed changed to our backers very openly, and we got a lot of really good feedback. So Manny says Kickstarters are all about learning. We've learned so much from each campaign, ours and watching our friends. I love how much people share with each other. That's it, totally. The Kickstarter creators are the best in that most will share their actual, sorts of techniques and things that have both worked and not worked. And then again, the caveat that there is no one rule for Kickstarter. Like there's a ton of things that are best practices maybe, but there is no one rule. Like launching on a Tuesday is a really good idea because you set yourself up for success statistically. However, you can launch on a different day like a Monday and you might be just fine. That's something we've done. It totally is not something you have to worry about doing everything the best practiced way, but you certainly want to be aware of them. And that's one of the cool things about Kickstarter, is that people are real willing to share all of those techniques and tips. Martin says, best video yet, Mr. Britt. Well, thank you. In 34 weeks, I'd hope I'd improve over time, Martin. Daniel says, I tell my wife the dinner isn't terrible, just needs a relaunch tomorrow. Oh my God, I'm stealing that, Daniel. I promise you, if there is ever an issue, that will be my my new one. Oh, we could relaunch this. That's Yuri says, I'm glad I found out the Record project. Yuri, I am too. You're one of the best backers in the world. I am not joking about that. You're a super positive, super amazing force in the Record community. I do appreciate you, sir, and that is not speaking in jest. Ian says, Monday launch club member. That's right, buddy. Mondays. It's a good day to do it. Jennifer says, so what you're saying is Wonderland is launching on a Monday. If they want to gamble and show me how amazing their marketing is, they'll launch on a Saturday night. Do it, James. Do it. No, don't do that. That's a horrible idea. All right. So thank you guys for being with me this week. This has been a great half hour. I can't even think about anything else to talk about because this has been so much amazing Kickstarter talk. And I really appreciate those of you coming around and hanging out and offering perspectives, especially about the Kickstarter aspect and stuff like that, because I am by no means the authority. I am learning and paying attention to it and all that sort of stuff. So Saturday night, is that when Patrick says Saturday night, is that when the next root product is going to be launched? A Saturday night? That's I'd be interested to see that happen. Martin says Yuri is the new Timothy Gay. Hey, it's Timothy Gay is an amazing fan for a certain company. I would put Yuri way above that. Yuri is an amazing fan for a bunch of companies. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Patrick says, sure, why not? So you heard it here. The next root product will launch on a Saturday night. Seems good. Seems good. Maybe not. So thanks, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful week. If you're having a cup of coffee, make sure you enjoy it. If you're working on a game, move it along. If you're playing games, make sure you enjoy them. Thanks again. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.